And hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So in this CSS tutorial, we'll be taking a look at shadows. Shadow effects are some of the most cool effects you can have in CSS. So let's, we can probably keep this div here. Let's create an h1 and we can call it hello world. And we maybe give it an ID of text S for text shadow. Or we can actually give it a class just so we broaden up a little bit. So here we have a class, text S. We can just copy that. Then inside our style.css, we can say dot text S because it's a class. This is a border. So here if you hover over it, you see it's ID equal bordered. If you hover over this, it's class equal text S. So dot for class, hashtag for ID. Alright. Then here, let's say text shadow. And here we could go 2 pixels, 2 pixels. We can even maybe change the color. So color, make it red. And now it's red. But let's say we want to make sure that the shadow is not red because, you know, it's kind of weird if a shadow is red. So let's make it black. Now, this red text has a black shadow on it. Now it looks infinitely cooler than what it did. Now we can make it look even cooler by applying a blur effect. So if we go 5 pixels, this will create a blur effect. Now before we jump into just going everywhere, let's actually go back to what we had. Now what do these mean? Well, let's say we increase this to 10. Now you'll see on the left axis, it moved further away. So this is 10 pixels away from its original location on the x-axis. So by saying 2, it's only 2 pixels away. So it gives the impression of a shadow. Same with this. This will be from the top. So if we say 10, there will be 10 pixels from the top. If we say 5, there will be 5 pixels like that. We can even go and make this 5 as well. And now it will look just as cool. So these just move it around. But if we go, let's say 2 pixels, we are then adding a 2 pixel blur to it. Yeah, I felt 5 pixels was maybe a little harsh there, but you might prefer this. This is a valid way to do it. Now the shadow looks a bit more spread out. But this also allows you to make the text color something like white. Because now you can still see the text. However, because of the shadow you can still see it. If we were to remove the shadow, then the text will be gone. Isn't that absolutely epic? So there's a lot of effects you can go around with. For example, you don't even necessarily need to move where the shadow starts. It can start at that location. As you can see, it still works perfectly fine. We go 2 pixels, the text will look like it's white text, but it has dark borders. And of course, the more you increase this, the more the blur will be. So depending on what effect you want, you can play around with this to find the effect you are looking for. You can of course add multiple shadows to your text. You're not limited to just this. Let's say for example, here we have one that's 3 pixels, so it looks nice. But let's add another one. 0, 0, 0, and then 5 pixels. And let's make this red. Now you have both a black and a red shadow, where the red shadow is a little bit more illuminated in a sense. It's a bit more blurred and makes it look like it lights up more than the black. Or we could go red, make this blue, or of course not make that red, this could be black. And now it will look amazing. Almost like there's this glow effect. Because red and blue, that kind of gives you a little bit of a purple here. If you were to match them up to the same amount, then now it's a full-blown purple. And of course you can play with this as much as you want. You can even give one of them an off pixel if you want to make it look a little bit weird. You can give both of them an off pixel, 2px. There we go. Now both of them have an off pixel, but now it looks a little weird. So I prefer having zeros. And you also know notice with the zeros, you don't need to add a pixel here. With numbers you kind of need to, but with zero is like the base point for all numbers. So when you say 0, you will always get the same 0. So you don't need to specify what type it is. But with a number, depending on the number you give it, something will be different. For example, 1 pixel here is not the same as 1 rem, as you can see. But 0 pixels and 0 rem are the same value. It's just they take different steps. And of course, just with like everything else we've done, you can add more of these. For example, you don't necessarily need to just do this. You could add 2 more for each and every side basically. But cool. Now let's say we have this. Let's make it red just so it's easier to see. And let's go 2 pixels and we can go 2 and 2. There we go. So here's that. Let's say we wanted to move this upwards. Well, then we can say minus. That will go the opposite direction because 2 pixels will take you right, but negative 2 pixels will take you left. Same here. If we say negative 2, it will take you up instead of down. So you can customize your effects like this, and you probably already kind of see how this is very, very powerful. Now that we know this, let's go and do something like negative 1 pixel, 0, black. And let's maybe make the text white or red or whichever color you prefer. And then we could do something such as, and this of course should be a pixel, so negative 1 px, and now you'll see it. So now there's a border, but only to the left side. Let's say you now want to do the same, but now for the bottom. 0, 1 px, black. Alright, that's cool. Let's go for the right as well. 1 px, solid, and let's go hashtag 000 because that means black and we don't use this enough. Ah, my bad, I didn't mean to say solid. That was supposed to be 0. And now it's on the left, the bottom, and the right. Now let's add one to the top. So 1, 0, 1 px, and then let's go RGB 0, 0, 0, just so we can use that as well. There we go. And that should actually be negative 1. And now it's on each and every side. So you basically gave your text, we can actually make this white, a border, as you can see. Now that was very nice working with text, but of course there's more than just text that you can work with. So let's say here we have this div. Now let's make the background color of the div something such as blue. Alright. Now a box shadow is very similar to text shadow. So we can just say box shadow. So box shadow is what you use if you don't want to use it on text, but instead on a container such as a div, for example. So if there's not text you want to add shadow to, then it's a box shadow you want to add it to. So 10 pixels, 10 pixels. It works the same as a shadow if we were to make this less. So let's say instead of 10 pixels, it was 5 pixels. Same effect. And of course you can specify the color of it. So light blue. So now this is light blue underneath the dark blue, or red, or black, whichever color you prefer. But generally, just like that, it doesn't look that great. But if you were to add something such as a blur, let's add a blur. Now it has a nice blur to it. And of course, the more you make it, the more the blur will be, as you can see. And of course, any color you want. We go cyan, there we go, red. So it's the same. If we were to go negative 5 pixels, then we'll go to the left. Negative 5 pixels, then we'll go to the top. The exact same concept as with this. Just in this case, it is on the box shadow and not text. However, there's one difference here. Whilst the text only has blur, these two and blur, this is not the same for a box shadow. Box shadow has one more called spread. This defines the spread radius. Basically, it's a value that will increase or decrease the size of the shadow. So if it is a positive value, such as 10 pixels, it will increase the shadow with about 10 pixels. If we go minus 10 pixels, it will actually decrease it, but the shadow isn't that big, so let's go negative 2 pixels. So spread will increase or decrease the shadow. So let's say that if you take this away, this isn't enough shadow. Then you add this spread value, and let's say 2 pixels. That will increase its size of about 2 pixels. Or 3 pixels, that will be bigger with 3 pixels. So spread allows you to change the size you want this to be. Now let's say you want to instead put the shadow inside of the box. So here it's outside, but what if you wanted to put it inside? You could have done your magic to try and do that, but the easiest way would be inset. So now it will be on the inside, as you can see here. And these, they still do the same, but now if they're positive, they will start here and there. If they're negative, they will start here and here. So it's the same thing, but now it's just on the inside. That was good, 10 pixels, and now it will be bigger. And again, just with like the text shadow, you can add multiple shadows. You're not limited to just one shadow. And that is that for shadows. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you all again in the next CSS tutorial.